morning. How are you all? I've not done a live for ages, and I wanted to jump on today because I've been working with a few students over the last 3 or 4 weeks, really, since quite a few students have signed up since the schools have finished, and they're kind of a bit in limbo, not really knowing how they can be using their time over the summer. But the usual kind of conversations that we have are around developing ideas, developing your work, and showing how your ideas have developed. And there's sometimes a little bit of confusion about how you show that. What do you show? What is the part of the process that you show? And I've seen many portfolios that people send to me that show how it's quite difficult to explain, actually, but if you're thinking about how a piece has developed, then students often show each stage that they've done within one drawing. So imagine you're doing a drawing or a painting, and you're showing, initially the first pencil drawing, and then you maybe start to do a bit of colour, and then you do a bit on the face, and they take a photograph of the drawing at each stage to show the development. And I've seen a few students do that, and it never really occurred to me that that's how people might interpret showing your development. And of course it is. Your work is developing. I'm just going to nip over here, actually. It's really hot. And yeah, of course, that shows how a piece of work has developed, from the initial drawing, the initial sketch, through to the finished piece. But what we're talking about in a portfolio, and what I really like to drill down on with students, is showing development of an idea that is showing the initial sort of idea, where you got the idea, the seed of the idea, and then what in your thought process, and what in your sketchbook, and what in your various kind of iterations of what you've been doing. Maybe you've tried something in acrylic, maybe you've tried it in a different material, maybe you've gone off and done some research about other artists, perhaps you've come back and you've taken a small section of an image that you've worked on. Lots of different possibilities in the development of the idea, rather than showing the different stages of the development of a single piece. Okay, so that's something that's really quite important, really important in a portfolio, because a huge part of what the students or what the colleges assess your work on is the development of your work. How are you developing your ideas? What are your thought processes? How are you using your sketchbook? So that they can see, the potential for the creativity that you have. How do you process your art? If you've not been watching Grace and Perry, I don't know if I've mentioned this hundreds of times on my personal Facebook page, but if you've not been watching Grace and Perry's Art Club, I really, really urge you to watch it, because it's fabulous in terms of seeing the way that Grace and Perry thinks about art, and the connections that he makes, and the way that he interprets people's work, people's ideas. And the one particularly that really took me was, not this week, the previous week, the one about looking from a view from a window, people submitting their work view from a window. So please, Channel 4, or all 4 if you've got the app, catch up. Please get on to see Grace and Perry, because it's really helpful in learning how to develop your ideas. So getting back to the idea of developing an idea, the fact of you doing a sketchbook and showing first the pencil drawing, then you've put in a bit on the face, and then you've put a bit on the clothing, photographing at each of these separate stages for your digital portfolio, isn't going to cut it with the colleges when you're submitting your development work. Okay, and what I do with students is really drill down. I probably spend, when I work with students mentoring and on my one-to-one, on my online course, my 20-week online course, I probably spend, I would say, 70% of the time working with students on the development work. Because if you haven't done that development work, or if you've not done it very thoroughly, the final piece is going to be really weak. If you just start with an idea and do the first idea that pops into your head, it's likely to be not the strongest work. So we spend a long time working through their various techniques, various different ways of working, different materials, thinking about different things, looking at different artists, going online, looking at newspaper cuttings, looking at issues, and really kind of exploring a subject, a topic very well, so that you can show how the idea has developed in your sketchbook to the finished piece. And actually, you know, the finished piece may not be that strong, but if you've done the development work and you can show the development work and you can show the final piece and you can reflect and kind of say, well, you know, perhaps it's not the best outcome, but this is where I was going, this is what I was thinking. The art colleges are going to look upon your portfolio in a much better light than somebody who has had an idea and done it, you know, with no kind of development in between. So hopefully that's helpful. That's a huge stumbling block for a lot of students. And yeah, I'm going to be talking about this kind of thing a lot more. I'm going to be doing a free strategy session on June the 10th. So not Wednesday coming, but the following Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Okay, I'll put details below this video. If you're following my page, then I'll put details on the page regularly over the next 10 days or so that you can get onto this strategy session and learn a little bit more about how to have a strategy with your portfolio. There's no point putting together a portfolio and putting together UCAS applications just on a wing and a prayer, just thinking, right, here's some work, a few finished pieces, a couple of life drawings, sticking it in, boom, and, you know, having no real plan. Okay, it's important that you have a plan, particularly if you're applying for some of the design subjects. I think if you're at school doing advanced higher art, or if you're doing A-level art, if you're not doing A-level design as well, or advanced higher design, it's going to be tricky for you to get a portfolio that is relevant to the subject matter that you're applying to. So if you're applying to Scotland, then of course, you know, they're looking for you to submit straight into fashion, unless you're going to Dundee. But if you're looking at Edinburgh and Glasgow, which everybody is, they're looking for you to apply straight into the subject specialisms from year one. So to submit a fine art portfolio for something like interior design or fashion design or jewellery design or photography, you know, isn't going to be successful. You need to have a portfolio that is custom designed for the subject that you're applying to. Okay, Gray's School of Art have a more general approach to the first year. They've introduced a new first year, and Dundee still is a general first year, but you know, you really do need to be having a strategy. So 10th of June, I'll put a link below here, 10th of June, a week on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Okay, hopefully this finds you well. If you've got any questions, if you're watching this on replay, maybe just do #replay. If you've got any questions, let me know. If you want to find out more about any of the courses that I run, then of course let me know as well. Drop me a private message, leave me a message here, email me. I'm around, of course. Everybody's at home still. Hope you're well, and I hope you're enjoying this fabulous weather that we're getting here in the UK, in Scotland especially, because it's not always that good in Scotland. Okay, great. See you soon.